Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. This is episode 32, season 2 of the podcast, and we are back only once this week. Unfortunately, with Christmas and time spent with family and friends, the time to do the podcast shrunk tremendously, and here we are for another episode. Only one this week, but we're going to talk both spreads in the NFL, over-unders in the NFL, and props. We're kind of doing all in one show and touch upon the latest news in the sporting world. But for the most part, we're going to talk about NFL action, as that is the king of all sports betting action so far during this time of year, at least, when it comes to the world of sports. And if you check out the TV numbers compared to the NBA, the NFL had 29, 30 million, 20-something million viewers per game, while the NBA averaged like 2 to 3 million. So you can see that the NFL is king. So that's why we focus on it. But again, we're going to touch and talk about other sports, other events, but just not today. But if you want to follow the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast, please follow us on X at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. It's also located in a link within the episode details for your podcast provider, and also Facebook and Instagram, Overrated Experience. And guess what? We actually have a guest that's been away for a long period of time that has come back from upstairs. That's a hint. Welcome back, lady from upstairs.
Thank you.
What brings you back?
I just walked down the stairs and I got here.
Oh, okay. I guess that goes with the name, the lady from upstairs. Well, welcome back. So, did you have a great Christmas?
I did. It was good.
Do you find the Christmas break with kids and family obligations just about enough time, or does it, get overwhelming at a certain point?
No, I think it's fine. I think it's good. Perfect time. After a week, it's time to get back to the routine.
Where would you rate the alcohol consumption during, let's say, a week vacation in the summertime versus the Christmas break?
I think it's pretty much the same.
Yeah? Oh my God, okay. Wow. And I see you've bought your box of wine. What kind of wine have you brought us here today?
Am I allowed to say the name?
Sure.
It's very fancy.
Yeah?
I call it the JT.
The JT?
Yeah. Jackson Triggs.
Fair enough. Is it red or white?
It's red.
And I'm asking the question. I'm looking right at it, but for the audience.
It's Shiraz, my favorite.
Nice. And it's recyclable, too, in a box. This is great. This shows you the high class, kind of level we produce around here.
It also shows you that I think responsibly about the environment.
Very good. That's very good. That's what we want around here.
Yeah.
Well, if you can also throw out a plastic straw here, or a paper straw, I guess, would be the environmentally friendly thing to do. All right, so we're going into the podcast, but you had a chance to see a movie today, Aquaman, the new Aquaman, Lost Kingdom, I think it's called. Is that I think the title? So first of all, did you enjoy the movie?
It was good. It was it was good. It had some ups and downs, but overall, I thought it was good. And
what do you think about Jason Momoa?
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you would listen to a Jason Momoa audio podcast, and that's it?
Yeah.
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 Really? Okay. What did you know about the Aquaman character before the movies came out?
Yeah, nothing much. I'm not. Wasn't really big on the all the characters and stuff, but I've gotten more accustomed to it now.
Okay, so if you had to give a rating out of 10, what would the rating be?
I'll say a 7.
Okay. Now, the IMAX experience, so the movie that you watched was an IMAX, where you got to get the glasses and the sheets shake, etc., and
3D. Yeah.
3D, all that sort of stuff. Did you feel that it was worth, was it the effort to put the glasses on and strain your eyes, was it worth it from what you got out of the movie?
It was okay. Some parts it was good for some parts where they were underwater, and really the beginning of the movie was probably the best part with the glasses on, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, it's kind of pricey too.
Yeah, that's the problem with, I'm not understanding if in 2023, now going into 24, if the movie theater experience has the right business model. Now, the cost to bring children and adults, as a group to do, let's say, the IMAX experience is one, expensive to get in the door. And then two, you're going to watch this movie with popcorn and drinks. And that's another almost equal, if not more cost than just the tickets alone. And taking a family of 2 adults and 2 children, and that experience has to be over $100 to get in the door and then to have enough snacks to go through 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And that's hoping that your kid is interested to stay paying attention for 2 hours. That's a lot to ask in a world where you can get an illegal box. You know what I mean? You can get these movies faster. So I don't know if they got the right business model, at least the pricing wise. Okay. The theater we were at was pretty empty, right?
Yeah.
It was pretty dead.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people were staying away because it was the time or they didn't care about the IMAX. Personally, I'm not seeing the value to drag me into the theater to must watch many movies because it's IMAX. So outside of Avatar, honestly, there hasn't been a movie that stood out to me that the special effects in the theater made it worth going to the theater versus waiting for it to be at home. So
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. So I know you've joined us here on the podcast, and like you said, you kind of just followed me down the stairs and hooked up a mic and poured yourself a glass of wine and put the headset on. We're glad to have you part of the podcast. I know that you've been out of the sporting loop for a bit. I'm still going to ask your opinion on things. I know you don't know the answers to many of the current events going on in the NFL or other events, but I'll walk you through, just get your initial thoughts, or feel free to jump in. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. So you comfortable over there in your little spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got my wine. That's
got
all
your
I need.
wine. So just to kick it off and talk about what's going on in the world of sports tonight, the Detroit Pistons lost their 28th consecutive game against the Boston Celtics. The Celtics opened up as a 17-point favorite in this matchup. I think it was up to 17.5 and came down. And the Pistons took them to overtime. They actually led the majority of this game going into the second half, or the third quarter. Boston took it to them. But this game went to overtime. This is probably the best that the Pistons have played in this stretch, but they still lose, and they're down 28 straight. What do you think the mood is in that locker room, down 28? 28 straight losses.
It's almost like it gets worse and worse, right? Like, I don't know how they have the motivation to come out to the next game. It must be dreadful in there.
And I was even thinking, if they did win, let's say they won, let's say in overtime, or even at the end, they had a chance to hit a 3 and they tied it with a 2 off a missed shot. If they would have won, especially on a last shot, what is their what do you think their celebration should be like?
Like they just won the whole championship.
You think so? I almost think they should be subdued, very a couple handshakes and then move on. Don't celebrate like it's the Super Bowl or the NBA championship, just because it's ridiculous. It looks so stupid,
It is,
right?
yeah.
It looks so stupid. Yeah. But now they have 28 losses in a row, NBA record, getting bad in Detroit. Some other interesting news, now headed to the NFL. Interesting story on the weekend. So, Jari Alexander, I think it's Jari Alexander. I keep messing up his first name. Defensive back for the Green Bay Packers was suspended for this upcoming week against the Minnesota Vikings in a huge game, and he's a player that they need on the field. Now, what had happened was the Green Bay Packers, every game, they choose 3 different captains to go talk to the referees at the start of the game to do the coin flip. And Jair Alexander was not one of them. But he decided he would join the 3 guys to be the 4th without the coach's permission. So he goes into the huddle, at midfield at the start of the game to do the coin flip. He stands the closest to the referees and actually makes the call. Tails. Right? They win. But here's the thing, is that in the NFL, most of the time you want to say, hey, no, we'll start with the ball in the second half. So let them have the ball in the first half, and we'll take it in the second half. Mm-hmm. So right away, he states, we want to be on defense. And the referee is like, you sure? Because what they're supposed to say is they defer their choice. If they say they're on defense, that means they possibly could be kicking the ball off both halves, depending on the words that are used. He said defense, meaning that they've made their choice. You have to go up there and say you defer your choice until the second half so that you get the kickoff. So the referee, are you sure you mean defer, right? And so the referee helped him out. Or he could have screwed the Packers just by the word choice he used in a place he shouldn't have been. Now here's the debate. You have an impact player. Your season's on the line, right? We're talking about a make or break must-win game to keep the playoff hopes alive on Sunday night in Minnesota. You're injury riddled, so you're down, guys. Like you're really desperate. Does the fact that you need a player that bad outweigh what you think is the right thing to do based on the scenario that the player disrespected or kind of took upon themselves to do something that could have cost the team in the long run? What decision do you make? They've chosen to suspend, but is that the right decision? What do you think?
I think that's the right decision. That's playing out insubordination. Like, it's bad.
I think in this particular scenario, yes, I think it's the right situation to suspend him. But I do believe, depending on the scenario, you do have to make an alternative punishment. You really have to think situation by situation. This one was totally a player taking it on his own for what, I don't know what reason it was. Says he was because he's from Charlotte and they were in Charlotte. But I think this is the right decision to suspend him. But there could be a case made for, depending on the details of the story and maybe a different story, you could say that we're going to suspend you next year or here, this or that. I just don't think it's black or white or, right or left or right or wrong. But this scenario, I believe, it was so detrimental that if you even seen the interview, if you haven't, go on Twitter, check out his interview when he's asked by reporters. And basically, the reporters let him know, you almost screwed over the Packers, right? You know that, right? And he's like laughing with sunglasses on, kind of talking. And what I don't understand is in the NFL players are like gladiators. These guys are superheroes, physically gifted, but they have a short period of time, a very, very short period of time to be financially successful, to play. So any opportunity, any sort of dip in skill or value to the team, they will get rid of you fast. Just like a gladiator, if you get bitten by a tiger and can't perform, bye-bye, who's next? They have thousands of other guys lined up ready to take your spot. And soon as you become less valuable on the field and you become a headache off the field, soon as your performance dips and you're a headache off the field, they're getting you out the door even quicker. Okay? So the reason why, if this was some other no-name brand guy that did this, they cut him. If he was less valuable to the Packers. Let's not kid ourselves. He'd be gone. Alexander is suspended one game only because of his talent. But if he was declining and or he was less than what he is, he'd be gone out of a job. So I don't understand why you shoot yourself in the foot by doing something so stupid when you have such a short window of time to cash in. And now you have to maintain that skill set to get any leeway and maintain your role in the NFL. It doesn't make sense at all. And speaking of maintaining your role in the NFL, you've heard of Russell Wilson, right? Mm-hmm. Right? He's now part of the Denver Broncos. Yeah. You know who his wife is?
Yes, her name escapes me right now.
Yeah. Kira? Was it?
Sierra,
sorry.
Yeah.
So last year, he came into Denver and they traded two first round draft picks for him, 2 second-round draft picks for him. And 15 games into that season, their new head coach was fired. Just an awful season. Russell Wilson looked like a piece of crap compared to what he was in Seattle. So we found out this week that new head coach that took over in the offseason, Sean Payton, has decided he's going to bench Russell Wilson, meaning he's going to be the backup, going into the next 2 weeks of the season, the last 2 weeks of the season, after that loss against New England. And as more and more the story unfolds, we learned that in October, it looks like Russell Wilson's people were approached about or asking Russell Wilson to negate or remove his clause in his contract where his 2025 salary of $37 million, yeah, is guaranteed if he is injured. So in the NFL, unlike other sports, not a good chunk of their contracts are not guaranteed. All right. Mm-hmm. So in the NHL or the NBA, you sign your 5-year deal. You're in it. This is your 5-year deal. So in this case, that if they want to get rid of Russell Wilson, and it looks like they will, that they will have to bench him or cut him in March of 2024, because that's their window of time to cut him before that guarantee for 2025 kicks in, if he's injured. Mm-hmm. So it looks like from the beginning that when Sean Payton came in, they did not want Russell Wilson as a quarterback and trying to get under his massive salary. Anybody out there, and I'm going to talk frankly here, that for the whole season, I told you that Russell Wilson is on the decline, and I told you that Sean Payton did not want him as his quarterback going forward. I'm also talking to you from Austin from Ajax. I've told you this many times that Russell Wilson will not be the quarterback of the Denver Broncos. He will not. People are bringing up, oh, look at his numbers. And I heard today somebody on Twitter, I think on ESPN, talking about Russ's numbers compared to 2013. You can't be serious. Russell Wilson in 2013 was a quarterback that was, leading the Seattle Seahawks to playoff appearances and Super Bowl runs. And just from the eye test alone, you knew that you wanted to build around Russell Wilson. And your eye test today tells you that he's not the same guy. He's slow. He's checks down every pass he possibly can. He's average. Don't get me wrong. He's a passable quarterback. And he'll be very welcomed by whether it be Atlanta or New England that can sign him to a 1-year no commitment. That's fine, because they can dump him when he goes south, and he will. So I don't understand people not watching how he's playing, and I can understand why Sean Payton, when coming in and working for the Waltons, the people in Walmart, massive billionaires, part of the agreement was I get to make the call who my quarterback is, and I may make a change, and he's going to do it. And you got the Broncos for a couple years, but that's just the deal he made, and he probably got these guarantees written down. So Russell Wilson is a shadow of himself, but from the Russell Wilson standpoint, like, I don't know about you, if somebody came to you that is asking you to remove this guarantee that if you get injured that you and they tell you we're going to bench you, last 2 weeks of the season if you don't take this guarantee because we want to protect our investment that you don't get hurt. That already doesn't that tell you already they don't want you?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And would you say, okay, sure, take it out so I can play the last 2 games of the season? No goddamn way. I'm telling, like I talked about when Jair Alexander, and I talked about these guys being gladiators. These guys are only good to these teams as long as they can perform. And if not, they are done. And the best shot they have of coming back is maybe being recognized years after their playing career into a ring of honor, if that. So don't kid yourself. Russell Wilson did the right thing by saying, I don't think so. If you're going to cut me, so be it, but I'm not giving up any guarantees in my contract. But a weird scenario there, and we'll see how that plays out. All right, so we move on to this weekend. And we move on to week 17 of the NFL. Now, yes, each team plays 17 games, but each team has a bye week. So there's 18 weeks. There's a lot of playoff scenarios here. A lot of injuries, like a lot of quarterbacks questionable. So a lot of information on going on is based on some not fully vetted quarterbacks maybe starting or not starting. But we're going to try it anyway and see what happens. Oh, and by the way, shout out to the Baltimore Ravens. I had you down in the power 8, you're going to hate my 8 rankings. They clearly right now have to be number 1 as the top Super Bowl contender. And what's impressive, the way they knocked off the 49ers over the weekend on Christmas night, was the fact that they took the ball away from Brock Purdy 3 times and one from backup quarterback there, Sam Darnold. That was as impressive as Lamar Jackson and the offense's performance. The way that they were able to turn the tide, pick off passes in the end zone, red zone, all etc. It's just fantastic football. Well coached. They just got a great program with great players selected, and they're definitely the lead horse in this race to get to the Super Bowl. All right, Saturday. We got one game. And by the way, lady from upstairs, are you happy the football season is almost over?
Yes. Who's playing at the Super Bowl?
Honestly, who is playing halftime?
I don't know.
Isn't it Usher? I thought it was Usher.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard.
What do you think of an Usher halftime?
Usher's good. I like Usher. I think he's got a residence in Vegas. I think he's still one.
But do you think it's still kind of like Usher, like really Usher after all these years?
It's almost like they're catering to. I think he's still relevant.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the last new song you've heard of him?
I don't remember.
That's right.
I'm not saying he was relevant to me.
Right.
Others.
Okay. So, by the way, I forgot to talk about tonight's game quickly. Browns beat the Jets. It's just a tale of two cities. You have a Cleveland Browns team that's now clinched a playoff spot for the second time in 4 years on their 4th quarterback, starting in Joe Flacco, and they were able to make it work. He's got flaws, don't get me wrong, and he'll probably fail them in the playoffs, and he'd probably lose some gas left in that tank. But the way the Jets handled Aaron Rodgers going down, again, I can't repeat myself enough, that shows you a big red flag that they couldn't game plan to even become successful in any way and sniff the playoffs like some of these other teams have. So one side you have a masterful coaching job on Stefanski, and then you got a pathetic coaching job by Saleh and Hackett, who could not make it work under the circumstance. They could not roll with the punches. Let's say that. So kicking off Saturday, we have the Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this shows you how this league's a week-to-week league. The Dallas Cowboys, not too long ago, where everybody's, they're definitely in the mix for a Super Bowl spot, potentially. They're going to make a run in the NFC. No, they're not. They're frauds. They are. They're not. They're simply not. Losing to Miami last week, getting beat up by Buffalo, and this excuse about being sick and like a virus going around. They're frauds. But what they'll do is they'll come back to Dallas at home and be successful and take out Detroit. When I see a line on FanDuel 4.5, I'm going to take Dallas on this one. But don't get me wrong, they're frauds. Dak Prescott was an MVP candidate and no longer an MVP candidate. Just like Brock Purdy suddenly went south after one game, against the Ravens. So Dallas Cowboys are frauds, but because they're frauds, they'll show life, and they'll show that their Ponzi scheme will continue on Saturday when they take on the Lions, who've now won their division. All right? That's their claim. That is the peak that I think that they're going to be satisfied with, and they're going to be on the road in Dallas. I think Dallas is going to hand it to them. So we'll see you there, but I like Dallas, 4.5. That's the line off of FanDuel. And again, I'm using BetStamp, the app, to find the best line to pick out when I'm giving you these plays. But I'm using FanDuel for any props I provide. Carolina, Jacksonville. 6-point favorites are the Jaguars. The Jaguars are reeling. 4 games in a row lost. Now, I don't even know if Trevor Lawrence is going to play or not. Every time he looks like he's out, he's coming in. It's like he's Iron Man. So CJ Beathard may be starting. When I look at this line of 6 against Carolina, and I know a lot of the sharps. Do you know what a sharp is?
No.
These are the pro bettors. Okay?
Okay.
Square, do you know what Square is?
That's me.
Okay, that's me too. So these are the everyday average Joe bettors. So the sharps, a lot of people like Carolina to cover here, just based on Jacksonville, tanking. Like absolutely gut it the last 4 weeks. But I'm going to take an opposite approach here. What does a sharp know that I don't know? Apparently a lot. But anyway, I'm going to take an opposite approach right now. I'm going to look at Jacksonville looking at Carolina as an opportunity for them to get off the schneid, get away from that 4-game losing streak and lay the boots to Carolina. Carolina did show some life against Green Bay, but I still think this is a horrible team, a very poor team, and now you put them on the road, I think you're going to see no offense from this team. So I'll take the Jaguars, 6 points. New Orleans, Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay is right now the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South. All right? Now, that's saying something after bringing Baker Mayfield in. New Orleans bringing in Derek Carr. And things have gone the opposite way for each of these teams. But the division's still up for grabs. Tampa is in the driver's seat, but the division is up for grabs. But when I see Tampa on DraftKings as a 2.5-point favorite at home, the way they're playing right now, red hot, and the New Orleans Saints are just a disaster, you give me Tampa. You give me Tampa at 2.5. All right? Here we go. Lady from upstairs, you still awake over here?
Yep.
Any thoughts on... Oh, see, okay, sorry.
Still awake.
Lady from upstairs, can you help me fill up, if you don't mind? Thank you, lady from upstairs. I'm just going to watch as she does it.
Wait, you got to hear the pour.
You got to hear the pour. Oh, yeah.
It screams out fanciness.
See, the listeners don't know if it's a pour or somebody's taking a leak.
That was pretty short, though.
Oh, well, okay. Fair enough. Thank you. That was a wine pour.
You're welcome.
All right, as we go and as we move on. The Buffalo Bills. Do you know their song? Have you heard this thing right now?
Bills make me want to shout.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's exactly it. It's hard not to go along with when you hear that song, though. All right, Bills Mafia gets another crack at the New England Patriots, this time at home. If you remember earlier in the year, the Bills were upset by Mac Jones and the Patriots on a last minute drive to knock off the Bills in a game that they needed to win and should have won. So this is revenge time. The Patriots have won 2 in a row. Or have they? No, can't remember. Okay, they've won. No, so they just came off Denver. Billy Zapp has been playing well at quarterback for the New England Patriots. You're expecting Bill Belichick, to shut down Josh Allen. He does that. He takes their best player. But you got, look at the weapons the Bills have. They got, obviously, Diggs, which, when you've been watching the Bills, he has not factored in as much in the offense as in years past, which is surprising. You got to think, heading into the playoffs, they got to get it done. Gabe Davis has been a factor. Cook, obviously running back, has been a factor. He wasn't as much of a factor on Saturday against the Chargers, but I expect him to get back on track. Kincaid, rookie tight end. They got things going, but the Bills are an up and down team, like beating the Chargers by 2 points. That doesn't make any sense after they go into Kansas City and knock off Dallas. Doesn't make sense. So what Bills team are we going to get here on Sunday? What Bills? Can you do the song again?
The Bills make me want to shout.
Okay, that's enough. That's good. Well, I'm going to go with Josh Allen here. I'm going to hang my hat that Josh Allen is going to take us to the promised land. Josh Allen, I'm going to say he's going to be over in passing yards. And what were those passing yards again? I wrote this down and didn't go back enough. So Josh Allen, first of all, I think this game's going over, by the way. 40.5. I think the Patriots are moving the ball well enough. And I think it's time. And I think the Bills will somehow give points away for whatever reason. But I got to believe that Josh Allen and this Bills offense is going to want to light up the Patriots. And we're going to see some points scored. All right. So the Bills right now, the passing yards for Josh Allen is 235.5. And I'm going to say over. I'm doing it. He passed for over that against the Patriots last time. So 235.5. Okay, and then 2 passing touchdowns. Decent, minus 122 for Josh Allen. 122. So you got to take that. And the game over 40.5. So you got 3 plays in the Bills game. Before we leave the game, one more time.
The Bills make me want to shout.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Then we move on, and we got the big game at 1 o'clock, and that's the Baltimore Ravens hosting the Miami Dolphins. 3.5-point favorites are the Ravens, and it looks like they can lock up the number 1 seed in the AFC in that only one week bye, or their first round bye. Very important. But if they lose, there's a whole mixture of things that are going on and making the Bills. It has a ripple effect depending on what happens this weekend. So if the Bills win, Dolphins lose against the Ravens, then the last week's game means that the Bills-Dolphins is for the division title. A lot of different things going on, a lot of ripple effect happening based on who does what this weekend. But the Ravens, it's hard to bet against them right now, especially at home. And looking at the Dolphins, they're a little banged up. I don't know what, Waddle looks like he's not going to play. And then Tyreek Hill, how healthy is he? I couldn't even find a line right now on a prop because I was going to go with my boy Tyreek Hill. But he's going to have to be the difference maker here if the Dolphins hope to win this game. They could, but I'm going to say that the Ravens win this comfortably and cover the 3.5. And it could be a difference between not just the Baltimore offense, but if you take a few of these weapons away, that the Ravens defense could play a huge factor on turnovers and, pinning the Dolphins deep and not really letting them breathe. So Tua, I think, is going to have some pressure on him, and I don't think he's going to have a good day. So I'll take the Ravens 4.5. Make that 3.5. All right. Now I'm looking also at the San Francisco-Washington game. If you didn't know, Jacoby Brissett is going to be quarterbacking for the Washington Commanders. Do you have a song for Washington? No?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Is there?
No,
I
I
think I've
never
heard one.
San Francisco 49ers coming off an embarrassing loss. And we talked about Brock Purdy probably worked his way out of MVP consideration based on that one night in Christmas Day against the Baltimore Ravens. So what I like in this game is I like the San Francisco 49ers trying to protect the ball and put the ball in the hands of Christian McCaffrey, the star running back, and potential NFL MVP. And his line for rushing yards is 88.5. And, he's even in a loss against the Ravens, he rushed for over 100 yards. And he's had 100 yards in the last 3 games. And you can't tell me that the 49ers won't even try to put it in his hands even more, going into this week as they try to secure the number 1 seed in the NFC. Because that's not locked in either. Because they lose this weekend, Philadelphia wins, then you run the risk of the Eagles taking over. And look at the Lions also still have a crack at it. So they got something to play for. Christian McCaffrey is their guy. And I think they're going to go down with him as the game changer to make sure that they lock it up this weekend. All right, 2 more picks, and then the lady from upstairs can be set free. Cincinnati Bengals head into Kansas City, and on FanDuel we got a line of the KC Chiefs 7-point favorites, and you got to look at where's that coming from. The Chiefs just lost at home against the Raiders in pathetic fashion, and you also have the Bengals losing in pathetic fashion on the road in Pittsburgh, getting blown out. So 7 points. Jamar Chase, I don't know his status, if he's in or out, guaranteed, but Browning is still there. And he's putting up 300 yards a game. And the Chiefs aren't. They're not. Okay, you know what's going on with the Chiefs, right? As far as who's at the games?
Yeah. Taylor Swift.
Your girl, Taylor Swift?
No, not my girl.
Your girl? Can you name 3 of her songs?
Oh, my God.
Can you name them?
Probably, but I'm not a big fan of hers.
I won't continue unless you give me 3 of the songs.
Oh, my God. I don't know. Bad Blood.
Okay. What else?
I don't know.
You could have said anything. I wouldn't know. I don't know any of your songs.
I know. I just...
But that just tells me you're a Swiftie.
I'm not a Swiftie.
Okay, sure. Okay.
No, not at all.
You're wearing a Travis Kelce jersey right now. No? Okay.
Travis who?
Oh, it's her boyfriend.
I know. I was
Oh.
just kidding.
Can you do the Bills thing again?
The Bills make me want to shout.
Okay, that's good. All right, so Cincinnati, I'm going to take the points here. I'm going to take the Bengals to cover. I think they got enough juice left to cover this game, maybe even win this. 7 points is way too high based on the offense. I think, Aiden O'Connell, the Raiders, didn't have a completed pass in the second half, and they still won. So 7 points is way too much. Final game of the night. You got the Green Bay Packers heading into Minnesota. -1 are the Vikings as favorites. But they're starting rookie quarterback Jaron Hall. I don't like this for the Vikings at all. I understand that Nick Mullins struggled. You know, he put up a lot of yards against Detroit, but he struggled. He's not your guy going forward, but I just don't know if this is the right time to jump back to a rookie quarterback that can't stay healthy, has not proven anything, and your season's over if you lose on Sunday. So I don't know if this is or is not the right call, but I think it's jumping the gun just a little bit. I like the Packers here. I think they got enough juice left. I think Aaron Jones is back, and that running tandem, I think they're gonna have enough to outscore the Vikings. I think Love will be just okay indoors, and I think Hall will have a tough time getting the ball to Justin Jefferson, who is obviously the man out there. Maybe next to Tyreek Hill, the best receiver in football, and you can argue the best receiver in football. But you know, that's an argument you can make with me on Twitter at Overrated Experience, or that's actually Overrated EXPER2 on X. Well, those are the plays here on the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. And just a heads up, just watch out when you're betting these college football games as well. There is a lot of roster turnover with guys declaring for the NFL draft and hitting the transfer portal. So really watch out who's playing. Some good resources are Bet the Board podcasts where they break down whether it be NFL, college into such depth that you'll find value. But I love Follow the Money, VSiN. If you don't watch it, if you follow their podcast, they got 3 hours of inside betting action that you learn something. It's interesting, and they talk your language. So that is on VSiN. Look at the podcast, Follow the Money, and I think you'll enjoy. Well, that's it. Any last words, lady from upstairs?
The Bills make me want to shout.
There we go. That's great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And maybe we'll get you back as we start talking more NBA action. By the way, do you have any live NBA action going on right now?
No, actually, I don't. Not right now.
Wow, I'm really shocked at that.
Me too.
All right, as we hit the box of wine, I say to the rest of the audience, the pleasure's all been yours. The Overrated Experience is over and out.